Hi everybody, welcome. I'm Art, ex-black sheep, ex-bad character, and most importantly, ex-traitor. Because apparently when your doctor diagnoses you with CPTSD, panic disorder, dissociation, generalized anxiety, that is just not a good enough reason for you to set boundaries with the person that caused it and who bullied you for your entire life. Yeah, apparently, at least according to my relatives, the best thing that I should do is drink water, exercise, and keep accepting my role as my mother's emotional trash can for the rest of my life. Then, maybe then, I can finally be part of that happy family dream and I can finally be accepted for who I am. So yeah, I guess that just sucked at seeing the bigger picture. And I'm guessing if you're here, you probably suck at seeing your family's bigger picture too. So welcome to my channel. And if you're familiar with these kinds of dynamics, I'm here to share my experiences with you. And I'm here to share with you how I was able to heal from all of this and never look back, ever again. And speaking of never looking back, let's dive into today's topic, which is going to be rumination. The whole thing of replaying scenarios over and over and over and over and over and over again. Replaying the scenarios of the people, the person or people who abused you. Replaying the scenarios of you talking with enablers, with other family members, trying to convince them of your pain, trying to convince them of your truth, trying to convince them to respect you and to respect your boundaries, trying to convince them that you are not the role that they want you to play. You're your own person, you're an individual, you have your own, you're who you are, and you don't fit in the role that they have assigned for you. And trying to convince them that you can't take it anymore because you are traumatized and you are sick. And that's the thing, that's the thing about these types of families. And when you go through this kind of abuse, the pain that we experience, is physically, it's physical. I remember there were times in my life where I just wanted to smash my skull and take my brain out of my skull and just throw it in the trash. I wanted, I couldn't, the pain was so strong. I couldn't function anymore. I would dissociate completely, And I am very familiar with this rumination about all these things because I can tell you guys that I have had so many conversations over and over and over and over with family members, trying to tell them, how sick she was and trying to get them to finally see the pain, because you don't see scars physically with this type of, of course it depends on the abuse, but in my personal experience, I found that the physical abuse, those scars, that pain didn't compare to the pain of emotional and psychological abuse. That was my experience. I mean, that kind of pain, it was the kind of pain that people will overlook. You don't have a scar to show, right? So when you ask for help or when you plead with your family to see you, a lot of times it will be completely downplayed and they won't take you seriously, and they don't understand. They don't understand how pain, I can't even put it into words, they don't understand what it feels like, to be scapegoated, to be unloved by a parent or both parents, and to have to deal with people constantly dumbing down what that does to a person, And the people who abused you, shunned you, invalidated you, refused to see you, hear you, And especially those who refuse to see the truth. They just suck the life out of you, even when they're not in the same room as you. Because we keep replaying these situations over and over and over in our mind, trying to convince them. You know, there were so many times that I sat with my father and I would sit with him, talking to him about the things that happened at home when he wasn't there, and trying to convince him, you know, like, this is serious. You know, I would just go into these conversations with him, and he'd tell me, okay, I'll go talk to your mom. And then a day later, he'd come back to me, and it's as if the conversation never happened. And I would have to re-argue with him, not argue, but like re-plead my case over and over and over again. And then that pleading would never stop. The pleading would continue in my mind. And, you know, because the validation is just not there, and the people that you love and that are supposed to be there for you and protect you, they're just not there. And they are so warped by the abuser, by the person who's abusing you and who's manipulating the whole family. Yeah, it's insane. It's extremely draining. It drains, it sucks the life out of you. So the thing about rumination, even after you go no contact, if you still catch yourself repeating conversations with your family in your mind, you keep thinking of scenarios that happen to you over and over again. You keep replaying everything in your mind over and over again. And this happens for many reasons. I mean, the first thing is that those people, even though you know in your mind that it's a dysfunctional family system, if you still ruminate about them, it means that those people still hold power over you. Even though you logically know that these relationships are toxic, you know, and that they wronged you. Your body and your nervous system remains stuck, okay? And this happens because your trauma hasn't been resolved. You are still feeling the emotional pain of the abuse and the invalidation, as if it's still happening right now, as if it's still happening every day. You know, it's like, I don't know if you've ever been to like a bad zoo. If you've been to like a zoo, you've seen footage of stuff like that. But it's the footage of, like, you will see animals pacing in circles, you know, in their cages. They're pacing in circles, you know, because they're unhappy and they feel stuck. And then when those animals are rescued and they're brought to like a conservation center, a place with a lot of room and forest, you'll still see those same animals, even though they have freedom, pacing in small circles in that small place, because it's as if their mind is not seeing that they are free. You know, that their mind is still stuck in that you're in a cage mode, you know. And so this is what happens to us. Even after we go no contact, we are still pacing in circles, you know, stuck in our minds, because when we experience abuse, neglect, or invalidation, our brain is trying to make sense of it. So rumination is a way of searching for answers, closure, understanding. But it will often keep us stuck instead of helping us. Because a lot of times in those family systems, there is no closure for scapegoats. So, you know, our mind is trying to make sense of it. We're trying to make sense of it. We're trying to find a solution. We're trying to find closure, you know, figure out how we can get closure. And we can't. So it just goes on and on and on. And then also there's your nervous system that remains in hyperarousal mode. You know, trauma can leave the nervous system on high alert, fight and flight, okay? So even if the threat is over, your body can still stay in that mode, and freeze as well, right? You can still stay in that tense mode. And your brain will keep replaying these events over and over again because your nervous system still senses like it's in danger. You never taught your nervous system that it can find a sense of calm and safety. Because, well, when you're on survival mode, that's what happens. We remain on high alert because our nervous system has been trained to constantly be on high alert. And another thing that causes this is also that humans, in general, we will focus more on negative experiences. This is called a negative bias. So our brain is wired to just notice and remember threats, which made sense, evolution-wise. But in modern life, this can turn into chronic rumination. And of course, when someone wrongs us and refuses to acknowledge it, our brain will see that as unfinished business. We replay scenarios hoping to change the outcome or prepare for what we think we should have done. So there's a lot of reasons why this happens, and rumination is basically your nervous system, your brain trying to process something that was unsafe and traumatic for you. And understanding why it happens is the first step towards freeing yourself from it. But also, most importantly, in my experience, to stop the rumination. I'm going to give you a couple of tips, but the most important thing, the big thing, the main thing that I think you should take out of this video is that you need to kill the hope that they will ever change. Hope is detrimental for us scapegoats. In movies and fairy tales and all that, this sort of magical thinking, hope is such a beautiful thing, but for scapegoats, if you look at the patterns that you've been through in your family, how many times have you talked to them? How many times have you tried to let them know of your pain? How many times have you tried? It doesn't even matter if you record the abuse, because it won't, they won't care. In my experience anyways, it's it doesn't matter how you present to them what has been done to you. The denial is just so powerful. And so, the most important thing really is to kill hope. And even though it sounds like killing hope sounds like a very terrible thing, but it's actually liberating, because there's no point in continuing to try to convince them. We have to accept the fact that, first of all, we can't change people. We don't have, we're not gods. You're not a god. I'm not a god. And we can't change how people think. They really have to do it for themselves. They really have to come to the realization themselves. And after everything that you've been through, and after everything that you've done, there comes a point where you really have to go, okay, it's over. It's finished. And that's what I do, and that's what I did for a long time. And even now, if I still get the occasional thought, it's quite more rare now, but if I get the occasional thought, I quickly stop it because I tell myself, it's finished, it's over. And that's actually a mantra that I hold for rumination. It's over, it's finished, it's finished. So I always tell you guys, I love myself, I trust myself, it's an important mantra. Second mantra, it's over, it's finished, it's done, it's finished, it's a done deal, it's done, it's finished. Never again. Never again. But of course, when you just start, especially when you're in the beginning of the healing process, this is a lot easier said than done. There's a lot more to it, of course. But as you work on your healing, and you work on all the different aspects of your healing, right? There's a lot of things that we need to look at here. When it comes to rumination, I'm going to give you a technical tip, which actually helped me. One technique that I learned about and that actually really helped me was imagine a place that you know. So what you want to do is you want to actually engage, because when you're ruminating, you're in your memories, you're in the past, you're disconnected, you're somewhere else. So what you want to do is actually activate the logical side of your brain. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to remember something logically. Like, for example, the grocery store. Imagine the grocery store. Which grocery store do you go to? You walk in. What do you see? Actually, I've done this exercise so often that I know exactly where everything is in my grocery store. Sorry, it's a plane. So you walk in. So I walk in, and on the right there's like the veggies, and on the left you have like the sushi and like the prepared meals, and then I go through, and then there's the bread and so on. And so you imagine yourself from the moment that the grocery store opens, and you walk yourself through your entire grocery store, imagining each item, remembering where all the items are. And you do that all the way until the end. It can also be something else, like if you go to a gym, you walk into the gym and you think of like, where are all the workout machines, what's the setup, and you walk yourself through the gym. If you go to a school, walk yourself through your school. Something logical that you know really, really well. And basically imagine yourself walking through this. I went to the grocery store in my head like 100 times a day in the beginning of my healing. 100 times. I just kept doing it over and over and over again to snap out of it. Now, rumination happens in the mind, but it's also a huge part of your body because it's your nervous system. Your nervous system is still on high alert, right? So it's really important to calm yourself down or exercise. Whatever you feel comfortable doing, go for a walk, stretch, take a cold shower. If you're inside, step outside and breathe some fresh air. Physical activity can also really, really help your mind. So if you have any sort of outlets to release your energy, like if you go to the gym or go jogging or for a bike ride or whatever. I used to go jog, well, I still jog, but I went jogging on a regular basis, and especially when I was ruminating, if I was able to go out and do a sport, then I did. If I could, if I was able to do it in that moment, then I just took my stuff and I grabbed my gym bag and I went to the gym or I went running. Anything to engage and reconnect with your body and away from that cycle. Another thing that's important to you, really important to do, is actually set a time where you permit yourself to worry. It's okay to worry, but not all day, or to think about these things. So you say, okay, every day at lunchtime, I give myself 1 hour. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to journal. I'm going to sit with my laptop. I'm going to think about what I need to think about. I'm going to stress about what I have to stress about. I give myself an hour every day. But outside of those hours, when those thoughts pop into your mind, you go, no, it's not my worrying time. My worrying time is from 12 to 1, for example. And that's when I'm going to worry. Other than that, I got to really focus on what's around me. Really, most importantly, is to actually be present with what's going on around you within that moment in time. Everything that's going on around you, like, do you need to clean your house? Do you need to wash your dishes? Do you need to go outside and mow the lawn? Do you need to, pay attention to your environment and work on fixing your environment? These are all actually, healthy things to do. But I found it really helpful to really, engage in all those things that brought me back to the present moments, that I could stop having those people keep coming back into my mind, and the injustice that I've been through were playing in my mind over and over again. So when you ground yourself, or when you focus on what's around you, you get pulled back into the here and the now. And that's the most important thing that you can do. There's a lot more to this, because of course you gotta permit yourself to grieve. And you also have to teach your nervous system about safety. You gotta teach your nervous system, to relax, to feel present and connected with your environment. You have to connect with your body, you know, in order to do those things. So, I mean, there's a lot more to it than simply doing those mind exercises. But if you combine those things with everything else that you're doing, eventually the rumination is going to stop. I can tell you, I don't ruminate anymore. And I never thought that day would come, but it did. I don't ruminate anymore. And every once in a while, I'll still have a little bit of grief, especially when I think about my father, because I think my father was really my mother's victim, and he never saw it. He actually really thought that he was a terrible person, that he had to keep protecting her. And that's really what destroyed the relationship. So every once in a while, I still grieve for my father. And maybe sometime I'll share a little bit more about that. But for now, I can tell you that overall, the rumination really stopped. And this is really because I killed hope in my mind. I fully killed the hope that anything was ever going to be resolved from this. And you know, when you think about all the injustices that you've been through, what kept you strong during those times? You know, because you're resilient, you've been through a lot, and you came out of it. You're here right now working on your healing, and there is so much that you can do. There is so much to look forward to in the future. And when you ruminate, you stay stuck in the past. But when you realize that it's finished, there's no more, you don't need to think about them anymore, because you're going to move forward. You're going to look at the future. You're not going to look at the past anymore and stay stuck there. There's nothing healthy for you there. You're not going to find healing in places that are dysfunctional. You won't. You're going to find healing looking to the future. So I hope this helped you at least a little bit. And keep writing those comments, guys, because I'm reading them. And if you guys want me to make a video about something in particular that's bothering you, or that you want, you know, you want my take on it, I'll be very happy to do it. And I want to thank you guys also for all the love. Like, I don't even know, like, sometimes I look at you guys' comments and I'm like, wow, oh God, like, I don't even know what to say. You know, I mean, thank you so much for tuning in and for participating and being a part of this conversation. As a community, we can heal together. We can heal together. And remember the mantra, I love myself, I trust myself, and I'll talk to you soon.